Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the spring campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game. My voice seems to be fine, still slightly plugged up. So as long as the laryngitis isn't present, we're going to proceed with the next scenario for the spring campaign. Last week, when we ventured to Miskatonic University for some extracurricular activity, we've picked up 2 experience points, and we've upgraded the decks. Links to which will be in the description down below. Also, I'm going to apologize in advance in case you hear any rattling in the background. I'm actually still sucking on cough. I'll probably still be sucking on cough drops for most of the video. But I'm going to probably go pick up some allergy medication to see if maybe it's just allergies acting up, because I'm attacking this as if it's a cold, but it might also just be allergies. So I'm going to see what attack I need to use with it. But anyway, that rambling aside, we picked up 2 experience points from extracurricular activity, and we upgraded those decks. Again, links will be in the description down below. This week, Daisy and Stella are off to see how out of place they look in La Bella Luna, to also find out if the house always wins. Before we jump into setting the scene, we'll go ahead and remind everybody of our tarot reading. On the good side, we left the Tower 16, which means each investigator chooses 1 basic weakness in their deck and removes it from the game, but they'll be returned after the game ends. On the bad side, we flipped the Emperor 4, which means our first combat test each round, we're -1 combat. Now, that won't hurt Daisy too much, since she doesn't want to be using combat in a million years anyway. And we're probably early enough in the campaign that Stella might not have big problems with it either. If anything, it'll help turn on her extra action quickly. Worst comes to worst, though, we'll be leaning on her evasion again. But anyway, that's enough about the tarot reading. Now let's go ahead and set the scene.
Scenario 1B, The House Always Wins. Intro. Dr. Armitage suggested you track down his associate, Dr. Francis Morgan. He's not sure whether Dr. Morgan is in trouble, but he's not particularly happy with his colleague's present choice of company. He's in the Clover Club, a notorious gambling joint somewhere downtown. Finding the club's exact location isn't easy. You have to grease a few palms just to learn which of the downtown restaurants operates as the club's front. That restaurant is La Bella Luna, a somewhat upscale Italian eatery by the theater. You change into your Sunday best and make your way there. In front of La Bella Luna stands a man in a pinstripe suit who sizes you up as you approach. "Enjoy yourselves," he says with a snake-like grin as he holds open the restaurant's front door.
Right, so that's what we're heading into on this scenario. But anyway, and it's a good thing I made all those audio recordings I did with all the grief I'm getting from colds and bugs and potentially hay fever this year. But anyway, now we can go ahead and take a look at our lady's starting hands, and we'll run back Daisy as our lead investigator. You might have noticed me grabbing the lead investigator token out of the craft tray, so we'll go ahead and start off with Daisy as our lead investigator. So, in an instance I'm not real happy to see, we've got both of her copies of I've Got a Plan in her starting hand. This is, as we recall, it's a 3 cost to play, lore and combat on commit. Fight using lore, and deal +1 damage for this attack per clue to a max of 3. Then we have deduction, where if you succeed during an investigation, it's a lore on commit, but if you succeed during an investigation, discover 1 additional clue at that location. Then this will probably be a welcome sight. Is a lab assistant, so maximum hand size increased by 2. And after it enters play, we draw 2 cards. 1 health, 2 sanity on soak, 2 cost to play with a lore on commit. And then we have a Drawn to the Flame. 0 cost to play, will and lore on commit. Draw the top card of the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. And I'll read through the flavor text when we actually go to play it. Now for Stella's opening hand, we have Will to Survive. It's a 4 cost to play, combat and agility on commit. Fast play only during your turn, and don't reveal cast tokens for the next skill test you perform this turn. And we've got Grit Your Teeth, 1 cost to play, wild card on commit. Fast, play after you fail a skill test. You get +1 to each of your skills for the remainder of the round. Take Heart, which you commit 1 per test. You may commit Take Heart to any type of test. If the test fails, the performing investigator draws 2 cards and gains 2 resources. We have a level 2 18 Derringer, 2 cost to play, combat and agility on commit. Uses 3 ammo. As an action, spend 1 ammo to fight. You get +2 combat and deal +1 damage for this attack. If you fail, place 1 ammo on 18 Derringer, and the next time you trigger this ability this round, you get an additional +1 combat for that attack. And finally, we have a Rabbit's Foot, 1 cost to play, wildcard on commit. As a reaction, after you fail a skill test, exhaust the Rabbit's Foot to draw 1 card. So that's our ladies' starting hands. Now we can take a look at the starting act and agenda decks, and we'll start off with the agenda first. Agenda 1A, the Clover Club. You have entered the Clover Club Casino in search of Dr. Morgan. The club is bustling at this late hour, filled with patrons looking to relax and drink, or make it big. You don't appear to be in much danger. Each criminal enemy gains aloof. Forced, if an investigator deals damage to a criminal enemy, immediately advance. So we don't want to be hitting the criminals if we can avoid it. So I suspect we will be actually leaning on... Like I suspected, we'll probably be leaning on Stella's evasion. Anyway, Act 1A. Beginner's Luck. You need to find Dr. Morgan. The club is packed. Perhaps somebody knows where he is? Or perhaps somebody knows where he is. When you reveal a chaos token as a reaction, you may treat that token as if it were any other token in the chaos bag. If you do, remember that you have cheated. Group limit once per round. Objective. When the investigators have collected the requisite number of clues, they must immediately spend them and advance. So we want to try to get those clues as fast as we can, probably. Last, we'll move Daisy and Stella over to the map, and we'll move with them. Daisy and Stella start off at La Bella Luna, so let's take a look here. La Bella Luna was a multi-purpose establishment, and it flips into La Bella Luna, Shroud of 2 clues. As an action, resign. This was a bust. Music is cliche and they only serve spaghetti. As far as covers for underground speakeasies go, it's not particularly creative. So we'll grab that. Grab the 2 clues for that. Then we do have an enemy that was spawned as part of setup in La Bella Luna. Or not, the Clover Club Lounge. The Clover Club Pit Boss. A 3/4/3. He is a criminal, so remember the agenda. He will have aloof. Prey highest lore, so he'll be coming after Daisy. Hunter. Forced. After an investigator at Clover Club Pit Boss's location gains any number of clues, Clover Club Pit Boss readies, engages that investigator, and makes an immediate attack. 2 damage on attack, victory 1. He's in the Clover Club Lounge, so we'll be watching out for that most likely. But anyway, that is everything set up. I'll go through each individual location as we move to them as usual. With that, we're all set up, so let's go ahead and drop down, and we'll get the scenario started with Daisy, and we'll stay right here at the map. I want to pull those clues off of La Bella Luna before the Clover Club Pit Boss comes over to make our lives miserable. So, action 1 for Daisy, she's going to investigate. She's up 3. -2 gets her a clue. The reason I'm not using Drawn to the Flame or Deduction this early is because she's already up 3 and it seems like it would be a waste, even though it would save us an action to get those clues in one shot. Action 2, she'll run the Investigate back. Go up 3. +1 gets her the last clue off the location. And then action 3, I'll actually go ahead and pay 2 resources to play out... Where is it? Here it is. Play out her research assistant to let me draw 2 cards. So first card Daisy draws is... Higher Education, 0 cost to play, Will and Loron commit. While you have 5 or more cards in hand, Higher Education gains. Action, you can spend a resource to get a Will or an Agility for this skill test. And card 2, Dr. Milan Christopher, 4 cost to play, lore on commit. You get +1 lore, and after you successfully investigate, gain a resource. So that's very welcome. That's also the end of Daisy's turn. So Stella, we're going to stay right here at the map. For action 1, Stella's going to move into the Clover Club Lounge. Again, the Clover Club pit boss will not make friends because he's aloof right now. So the Clover Club Lounge. Comfortable leather couches, mahogany furniture, and an array of beautiful art greets gamblers, tempting them into the life of the would-be affluent. We'll flip this over to find. Shroud of 2, no clues. While it is Act 1, Clover Club Lounge gains. Action, discard an ally asset from your hand. Gain 2 clues from the token pool. Limit once per game. And notice that doesn't say group limit, so Stella could do that, and then Daisy could do that as well. And I'm not sure I'm willing to toss a Milan into Daisy doing that, but anyway. Action 2 will keep Stella moving as we move her up to the Clover Club bar. And there is a connection between these two, so I need another connecting arrow. I wasn't sure if those two connected when I was setting this up last night, but anyway. The shelves behind the bar sag beneath the weight of all manner of bootlegged drinks. Cheap ales, moonshine, expensive bottles of wine, aged whiskey. If only you had a couple hours to kill. This flips over. Shroud of 3, no clues. While it is Act 1, Clover Club bar gains. As an action, spend 2 resources, gain 2 clues from the token pool, and draw 2 cards. Remember that you have, quote, had a drink. Limit once per game. Then for action 3, move. And action 3, I think Stella is actually going to pay 1 resource to play out her Rabbit's Foot. So after this is a 1 cost to play, wild card and commit, but we're playing it. As a reaction, after you fail a skill test, exhaust Rabbit's Foot to draw 1 card. They claimed it would bring me good luck. I wouldn't say that's true, but now I feel like it would be even worse luck to get rid of it. Right. So yeah, we'll be using that probably to help Stella dig through her deck a little bit. Anyway, that will do it for Stella, and that'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the Clover Club pit boss moves over to La Bella Luna. Thankfully, still does not make friends with Daisy, because he's still aloof at this point. So anyway, we'll go ahead and ready everything up. Reset the action tokens as well. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Daisy will gain 1 resource and go to 4. Stella will gain 1 resource and go to 5. Daisy draws. Dream Diary, untranslated. As an action, search your bonded cards for Essence of the Dream and add it to your hand. As a reaction, after you succeed by 3 or more during a skill test in which Essence of the Dream is committed, record in your campaign log that you have interpreted the dreams. Stella draws. Another Take Heart, which we saw in her starting hand. So anyway, we won't go through that again. Mythos Phase, we got our first Doom on the agenda. I'll move these out of the way. And then Daisy will draw. That should be in her hand as that should be in her hand as well. Daisy draws. O'Banion's Thug, 4/2/2. While O'Banion's Thug is engaged with you, you can't gain resources. Are we going to have a problem here? Another 2 damage on attack, but remember, it is a criminal, so it will be aloof as well. Stella draws. Hunted Down. If there are no unengaged criminal enemies in play, Hunted Down gains Surge. If there are 1 or more unengaged criminal enemies in play, each of them moves 1 location toward you. Each criminal enemy that engages you as a result of this effect makes an immediate attack. So we have 2 criminal enemies, and they both move to the Clover Club Lounge. Thankfully, this won't impact anything because the Clover Club pit boss is after Daisy anyway, and the O'Banion's Thug isn't a hunter. So that's not terrible right now. But anyway, that will do it for the Mythos Phase. Investigation Phase will once again start with Daisy, and we'll move back over to the map. Daisy is just out of shot here at La Bella Luna. Action 1. She's going to pay 2 resources. Where is it? Here it is. To play out her aforementioned Essence of the Dream. So now we have Daisy's free tome action, which we are going to use to go find her Essence of the Dream. So we'll take our first look at that. This campaign, and of course I have no... Here we go. I was going to say I have no fingernails to do this, but I didn't need much. So that is not part of her deck, this scenario. But anyway, so we have used her free tome action. Essence of the Dream gives her 2 question mark icons on commit. It's bonded to Dream Diary, and when it would enter your discard pile or be shuffled into your deck, instead set Essence of the Dream aside, out of play, with your bonded cards. So that was Daisy's action 1 was to play that. She used her tome action to go get Essence of the Dream. Action 2 will move her to the Clover Club Lounge, and then Action 3 will move her to the Clover Club Card Room. As you approach the card room, the clinking of poker chips and shuffling of cards is punctuated by shouts of revelry and frustration. Your thoughts are nearly drowned out by the racket. Then we find Clover Club Card Room, Shroud of 3, no clues. While it's Act 1, Clover Club Card Room gains action abilities, spend 2 resources to reveal a random chaos token. If it's an Elder Sign, gain 2 clues and 2 resources from the token pool. If it's an even number, gain 2 clues from the token pool. If an odd number or a symbol, nothing happens. And that's all 3 of Daisy's actions. Stella... What is Stella going to do? For action 1, I think, against her better judgment probably, Stella is going to spend 2 resources up at the Clover Club bar to gain 2 clues from the token pool, and she has to remember that she had a drink. So this is part of where I wish I had... I'm probably going to need to get more... There are the 2 clues for Stella, but I think I'm going to need to get more action markers. I know. Since her basic weakness isn't part of the... Since basic weaknesses aren't part of the deck anyway... Actually, no, that gives me a better idea. I'll use their sleeves to mark who's done what. So, sorry for a little more off camera. Here we go. So Stella's done the action at the Clover Club bar. That was action 1. Action 2 will bring her down to the Clover Club card room. And then action 3, she's going to spend 2 more resources to pull out, to try to get clues there. Skull, so nothing happens. That's unfortunate, but anyway. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Clover Club Pit Boss moves toward Daisy. Alright, and then I don't know why I flipped those over, but we'll go ahead and start readying everything up, and then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Daisy will gain 1 resource and go to 3. Stella will gain 1 resource and go to 2. Daisy will draw. Another lab assistant, which may give me access to the Clover Club Lounge, because I didn't want to discard Milan, but I may send the lab assistant there for Daisy. Stella draws. A test of will. 1 cost to play, will on commit. Fast, play when an investigator at your location draws a non-weakness treachery card. Test will 3. If you succeed, cancel that card's revelation effect. So we can use that if we need to stop something particularly dangerous from coming out. But Mythos phase, Doom on the agenda goes up to 2. Daisy draws. Something in the drinks with Surge. Revelation, each player who has had a drink loses 1 action. So Stella is down to 2 actions this round because she had a drink. And then this is still Daisy's encounter card. She draws. Twist of Fate. Reveal a random token from the Chaos bag. If you reveal an Elder Sign or positive, nothing happens. If you reveal any other number, take 1 damage. If you reveal a bad symbol, take 2 horror. So we'll grab the Chaos bag for that. -2 means Daisy takes a damage. I could put that on her existing lab assistant, but that would just take her out. And I'm probably going to swap allies at some point. Stella draws. Surge. So something in the drinks again, which means Stella's down to 1 action this turn. So that surges into a mobster. 2s all across the board. Retaliate. Forced. After mobster attacks you, lose 1 resource. You better scram, pal, unless you're hungry for boot leather and lead. Thankfully, that is also aloof because it's still a criminal enemy. But anyway, that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase now, and Stella's going to have a very short investigation phase, so we'll start with her. Whatever got put in Stella's drink was really potent. So all she's going to be able to do is take a resource to set up for next turn. That will do it for Stella. Daisy's turn is going to be slightly more eventful, but not much. I should also have mentioned that Daisy's turn was going to take us over to the map, but hindsight, as they say. So for action 1, Daisy's going to move up to the Clover Club Lounge. Action 2, she's going to discard the lab assistant that she just drew. Wait a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, never mind. So we had 8 cards in hand we didn't have to discard. Anyway, she's going to discard the lab assistant that she just drew to gain 2 more clues from the token pool. So now I'll reach back into the box for a yellow sleeve, which means that Daisy has done this action. So that was action 1 to move up there. Action 2 was to move up. Action 3 will move her up to the Clover Club bar? Yeah, I think we'll move her up to the Clover Club. That's actually a bad idea. I'll move her back to the Clover Club card room. Mostly because if I move the Clover Club pit boss because I'll be moving the Clover Club pit boss into the bar, and I need to be able to discover clues next round so I can get this scenario moving along. But anyway, that will do it for Daisy. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, nothing's going to change because the Clover Club pit boss is already right on top of Daisy, so we get to stay put there. But we will go ahead and ready everything up. And we'll move back up top for the Upkeep phase. Daisy and Stella will both gain a resource and go up to 4. Daisy will draw. Medical texts. 2 cost to play, combat and commit. Action, choose an investigator at your location and test Lore 2. If you succeed, heal 1 damage from that investigator. If you fail, deal 1 damage to that investigator. And once again, I will check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, still enough to discard. And Stella will draw. Oops. 2 cost to play, 2 combat on commit. Fast, play after you fail a skill test by 2 or less while attacking an enemy engaged with you. Deal this attack's damage to a different enemy at your location. Okay. Thankfully, we're not doing much attacking yet, but that could change on a dime here. But anyway, Mythos phase, Doom on the agenda goes up to 3. Daisy draws. Cursed Luck. Revelation, put Cursed Luck into play in your threat area. You get -1 skill value during tests. Forced, after you succeeded a skill test by 1 or more, discard Cursed Luck. Fantastic. And Stella draws. Another O'Banion's Thug that's going to hang out at the Clover Club card room, thankfully still being aloof. But anyway, that will do it. That was a very uneventful Mythos phase. Thankfully, Stella didn't get her drink spiked again. But anyway, we're back into the investigation phase now. And we will start off with Daisy, and her turn will take us over to the map. Alright, for Action 1, Daisy's going to move up to the Clover Club bar. Action 2, she's going to spend 2 resources to gain 2 clues. And Daisy's also had a drink now. And per the act, when we have the requisite number of clues, which is 8, we immediately spend them and advance. Alright, so Daisy... So let's see what we find here. High Roller. After speaking to a number of gamblers and servers, it seems as though Dr. Morgan has had quite the run lately. Instead of cashing out his winnings, he was convinced to double down. He was last seen entering the guarded hall near the back of the card room. Put the set-aside darkened hall into play. If it's Agenda 1, discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a criminal enemy is discarded and spawn that enemy in the darkened hall. Okay, so let's go find the darkened hall first. I gotta figure out where to connect this to. This looks like it connects to the Clover Club card room, so for now, I think I'm gonna start moving everything this way. And then I think the connection is, yes, it's right there. So we need another connecting arrow there. We'll take it, well, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the darkened hall, and then we'll look at our new act. A heavy oak door stands in a secluded corner of the club. As you approach it, the air grows heavy and the clamor of the card room fades behind you. Okay. And that was Daisy's 2 actions. Action 3, oof, we're going to actually have a pretty big problem on our hands here, aren't we? Well, I'm going to have to pay, I think I'm going to pay... I'm going to pay 2 resources to play out her medical texts. So once again, it lets us heal 1. Lets us choose an investigator our location and test lore 2. And if we succeed, heal 1 damage from that investigator. If we fail, we deal 1 damage instead. So that will do it for Daisy. None of her tome actions are relevant right now. Stella, as long as we're over here at the map, I think for action 1, we are going to pay 2 resources to play out the 18 Derringer. We'll take a quick look at this from earlier. Got a combat and an agility on commit. Uses 3 ammo. As an action, we can spend an ammo to fight, getting +2 combat and dealing +1 damage for this attack. But if we fail, we place an ammo on 18 Derringer, and the next time we trigger the ability this round, we get an additional +1 combat for the attack. So we'll get the ammo tokens out for that 3, right? Yes. Brassback's tokens are once again from LCG Tokens, link to which will be linked to their Etsy store will be in the description down below. So that was action 1 for Stella. Action 2 will move her into the darkened hall, since everything's still aloof for the time being. Then we looked at the flavor text on the back already, so let's look at what it reveals into. Shroud of 4, no clues. Forced, when darkened hall is revealed, put the 3 set-aside back hall doorway, put it into play the 3 set-aside back hall doorway locations. The door slams shut behind you, and you stand in sudden silence. This area of the club is lonesome and devoid of warmth and color. Somehow, the spotless floor and walls seem more sinister than inviting. Oh joy. So we need the 3, what did it say? Back hall doorways. Okay, so the 3 connecting arrows. The flavor text will be all the same on all of these, so we'll take a quick look. You approach an unmarked door toward the back of the Clover Club. So I think we'll spawn these here, here, and I'm going to move this up just a touch. And here. Oop. Okay, action 1 is to play the 18 Derringer. Action 2 is to move into the darkened hall. I'm going to do a little bit of metagaming here, but action 3 is going to be to move back to the Clover Club card room. And that will do it for Stella in the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the Clover Club pit boss moves toward Daisy. Come on, there we go. Fortunately still aloof for the time being. But anyway, we'll flip all of those over. So we'll start readying everything up. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Daisy will gain 1 resource and go to 1. Stella will gain 1 resource and go to 3. Daisy will draw. Scroll of Prophecies, 3 cost to play, will on commit. Uses 4 secrets. As an action, we can spend 1 secret to choose an investigator at your location. That investigator draws 3 cards, then discards 1 from the hand. And let me just make sure I don't have to discard. I don't think so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. Okay, nope, we're fine. Then Stella draws. Neither rain nor snow. Stella deck, Clark deck only. If the skill test fails, cancel all effects of the discard of the failed test and 3 question mark icons on commit. Alright, so Mythos phase, we advance the agenda. Alright. On the right track. Your questioning has drawn the attention of several men, hired thugs by the look of them. Francis doesn't want to be bothered, one of them says. We suggest you leave the premises before we force you to leave. Shuffle the encounter discard pile into the deck. If the players have completed extracurricular activity, advance directly to Agenda 2B. If the house always wins is the first scenario in the campaign, advance to Agenda 2A. We have completed extracurricular activity. That was last week's scenario. So, we're shuffling the discard pile back into the deck. And I'm not going to bother going through Agenda 2A, since we're advancing straight to B. Here's our cut. So Agenda 2A, we're advancing to 2B. You hear a crash from somewhere outside and screams of pain in the lounge. A terrible monstrosity smashes through the entrance at the club, crushing the stairwell and knocking over gangsters and patrons alike. Spawn a random set-aside enemy from the hideous Abominations encounter set in Clover Club Lounge, which is thankfully not where Daisy is right now. Spawn a random enemy from the set-aside Hideous Abominations encounter set. Okay, we did that already. Shuffle the rest of that encounter set, the set-aside Striking Fear encounter set, and the encounter discard pile into the deck. Move all investigators and unengaged enemies from La Bella Luna to the Clover Club Lounge. Remove La Bella Luna from the game. So let's go find the encounter sets that we're going to need. There's 3 from the set. Alright, I'm going to put that on top of the deck. So there are 3 enemies. One is going out at Clover Club Lounge. I'll grab the dice tower. I'll grab my small dice tower, and I need a D6, which perfect. Alright, so I'll put the dice tower right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's how we'll determine which one we're spawning. A 2, so we get the Servant of the Lurker. And I'll give these a good shuffle in a second. Servant of the Lurker. 4, 5, 2. Prey, lowest agility. Hunter. Forced. When Servant of the Lurker attacks you, discard the top 2 cards of your deck. Victory 1, 2 damage, 2 sanity on attack. That goes into the Clover Club Lounge. La Bella Luna gets removed from the game. Alright, we no longer need that in shot. Okay, so now that we've got all that straight. Okay, so we'll go through our new agenda. Agenda 3A, Chaos in the Clover Club. Amidst the chaos and confusion, the strange abominations attack everyone in the club. Screams echo through the halls as the blood begins to spray. Forced, at the start of the enemy phase, discard each criminal enemy in the same location as an abomination enemy, and we need 7 doom to advance. One thing to note, though, is from that agenda, we no longer have the clause where criminal enemies have aloof, which means the Clover Club pit boss makes friends with Daisy, and the O'Banion's thug and the mobster both make friends with Stella. This admittedly is part of the metagaming that I was doing. I was trying to make I figured Daisy was going to need help, so I moved Stella back to the Clover Club card room so I could try to give her some help, although Stella, as we see, has got problems of her own. But anyway, I'm going to give this a quick shuffle, and then we haven't even drawn encounter cards yet, so there is still plenty of chance for things to get even worse. Oh yes, there's plenty of chance for things to get worse. This could end up being a short scenario, folks. Alright, anyway, Daisy draws. Something in the drinks, Surge. Both of them have had drinks, so both of them, which reminds me, let me grab, even though it's probably not going to matter for too much longer, Daisy has had a drink, as has Stella, so they both lose an action. And then for Daisy, that surges into Rotting Remains, Revelation Test Will 3. For each point you fail by, take 1 horror. A sickening display of gore causes you to retch. You're glad this wasn't you. Thanks to Cursed Luck, we're down 1 right now, so I will commit... we just go up 3? I guess the question here is, do I think I'm getting out of this scenario? The answer to that is probably no. So I at least want to try to translate this diary. So I'm going to commit Higher Education to get to even, Drawn to the Flame to go up 1, Essence of the Dream to go up 3, and do I pour Scroll of Prophecies into this as well to go up 4? I might as well, just so I feel like I'm going to get something out of this scenario. Maybe something I can use later in the campaign. But anyway, up 4. -2 means I succeed, but unfortunately I don't get to translate the tome, or the diary, because I only ended up succeeding by 2. So that goes back to my bonded cards. All of that goes away. And then Stella draws a swarm of rats. Joy, joy. Let's take a quick look at these, though. 113 Hunter. A horde of cruel rats scares forth in an undulating wave of claws, teeth, and mottled fur. And 1 damage on attack. Right. So that's the end of the Mythos phase. We're going to get hit by... Both of our ladies are going to get hit by at least 1 enemy. So anyway, let's start off... And this is going to be a shorter investigation phase because both Daisy and Stella got spiked. So we'll start off with Stella and we'll drop down to her play area. Since our first combat test is -1 combat, Stella's going to punch the rat only up 1. So I figure I'll need the heavy artillery to deal with the big guys. Yeah. I'm actually not going to run that back. -1 takes out the rats, so now we're attacking at full strength. And then the last action for the round, she's going to take a shot with the 18 Derringer at the mobster, and we'll commit... Actually, no, we're not going to commit anything just yet. So we're using the Derringer. We get +2 combat and deal +1 damage for this attack. So we're up... Right now we're up 3. A well-loved +1 takes out the mobster. And then that will actually do it for Stella. So we managed to get her out of a sticky predicament. Daisy, we'll have to see how lucky she can get. My guess is probably not very, because I was very short-sighted in how I did that. But anyway, back over to Daisy. Short-sighted and losing an action for them didn't really help anything either. So I think what we do here is she's down 2 trying to evade, and I committed our agility to the attack, or to trying to get that dream diary. That's going to be a big problem. So 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 combat's down 3, evasion's down 2. But unfortunately, we're going to have a human meat shield. I'm hoping we might as well just try to... Do we even really have... I don't think we have a good test here, so I think Daisy just passes her turn with not being able to do anything. The plan here is I'm going to have to try to get Stella up there to help her out. So, unfortunately, that will do it for the investigation phase, because Daisy can't pass that evasion test against the Clover Club pit boss right now. But anyway, that will unfortunately do it for the investigation phase. The enemy phase will actually take us over to the map. Right at the start of the enemy phase, O'Banion's Thug gets discarded because it's at the same location as Abomination's Servant of the Lurker. Now he's looking for lowest agility. Oh boy, that servant's actually going after Daisy. So that servant will go make friends with Daisy. And now we get attacked. So Stella takes 2 damage from the O'Banion's Thug engaged with her. Daisy is going to get rocked. She's going to lose the lab assistant and find herself 1 damage from defeated by damage. And she's also going to take 2 horror from the Servant of the Lurker. Yeah, that was a pretty bad enemy phase. So we'll go ahead and ready everything up. And then we'll move back up top for let me finish readying these. Then we'll move back up top for what I think will probably be the last upkeep phase. If not for the entire scenario, then probably for Daisy. Daisy gains a resource and goes up to 2. Stella doesn't gain resources because she's engaged with O'Banion's Thug. Daisy draws. Research Librarian, 2 cost to play, agility on commit. Reaction, after Research Librarian enters play, search your deck for a tome asset and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. 1 and 1 on soak. Stella draws. Old Keyring, 1 cost to play, lore on commit, uses 2 keys. If there are no keys on Old Keyring, discarded. As an action, investigate. Your location gets -2 shroud for this investigation. If you succeed, remove 1 key from Old Keyring. Probably not doing too much investigating while we've got a bunch of enemies staring us down. But anyway, Mythos phase, first doom on the last agenda. Daisy draws. Dissonant Voices. Revelation, put it into play in your threat area. You can't play assets or events. Forced at the end of the round to discard Dissonant Voices. Oh, fantastic. Just what we wanted to see. Right. I put the lab assistant in front of one of those attacks. Stella draws. Conglomeration of Spheres. Oh, joy. 1/6/4. Prey, lowest agility, lowest lore, or lowest will. I'll get that stat right one of these days. Hunter, forced, after you perform an attack against the conglomeration of spheres using a melee card, discard that card. Okay. So yeah, that's not going real well. But anyway, that will do it for the Mythos phase. I'm surprised Daisy survived, but she probably won't finish the round. Anyway, let's go start with Stella. Okay, so for action 1, Stella's going to... What is she going to do? She's going to try to evade the... Is she going to try to evade O'Banion's Thug, or... No, she's actually going to shoot at the conglomeration of spheres. She's up... She's using the 18 Derringer. She's up 4. -2 gets 2 damage on the conglomeration. Then action 2. We'll run that back. So that's 4. Elder Sign is plus, looking at Stella's Elder Sign. Here we go. +1. You may instead choose to automatically fail this skill test to heal 1 damage and 1 horror. Okay, sorry about that. As crazy as this sounds, and I've got something of a plan here, I'm going to automatically fail that test because I can then spend 2 resources to play Oops and deal the 2 damage that I would have dealt to the spheres to O'Banion's Thug and take that out. Even though I probably would have gotten rid of it in the enemy phase anyway, but right now I need to basically figure that I'm losing Daisy this... I need to figure that I'm losing Daisy this round. So I also will exhaust the Lucky Rabbit's Foot to draw a card. So Stella will draw. Look what I found. 2 cost to play, 2 lore on commit. Fast, play after you fail a skill test by 2 or less while investigating. Actually, hold on, by 2 or less. Yeah, actually that still works because the automatically fail sets her skill to 0, and because that was a fight value of 1, that does work. Sorry, I was making sure that the interaction worked right. But anyway, this is basically the same thing with combat, except for clues. And then also when I fail... will I... No, I don't think I need to. But anyway, so action 3 will run the shot back, still up 5 actually, because we get +1 combat from the 18 Derringer's fail. We actually do get to heal a damage as well. I forgot Stella had some damage on her. -1 puts another 2 damage on the spheres. And then for her free action from failing a skill test, she's going to punch the conglomeration, still up 2. -1 puts another damage on the spheres, so we only have 1 damage left. That first test, I'll actually have to double check that because I forgot the first combat. We were down... Actually, we should have been down 1, but I think we were still... Yeah, I'm pretty sure we were still high enough to pass that, so I will double check that. So basically, I'm kind of... I kind of ran Stella's turn like I'm assuming I'm losing Daisy, because I probably... Because I don't think there's a way Daisy can evade both of these. But anyway, let's move over to her play area and see what we can do about that. Unfortunately, we have 1 agility in the hand, and I think I need it to try to evade the Clover Club Pit Boss. Unfortunately, I'm down 1 for both these evasions. Trying to evade the... I'm down 1 trying to evade the Servant, and right now down 2 trying to evade the Pit Boss. So unfortunately, I'm going to save my agility for trying to evade the Clover Club Pit Boss. Right now, action 1, I'm evading the Lurker, and I'm praying for a pull. I need a +1 to get away from the Servant. That is most definitely not a +1. That's a -2, so she fails that. Action 2 will run that back. That is a +1, so we do get away from the Servant of the Lurker. Actually, we might, by a crazy fluke, be able to survive this. So, action 3 for Daisy. Do I try to evade it, or... Actually, I don't think I try... Well, maybe I do, just so I don't take an attack of opportunity. So, yeah, we'll do that. So we're evading down 2. Cultist is a yeah right. -3, if you succeed, gain 3 resources. Yeah, in my dreams. Anyway, that will do it for the investigation phase. I'll go ahead and flip Daisy over as well. Enemy phase, by a quirk, the Clover Club Pit Boss gets discarded because it's at the same location as Abomination, even though we managed to evade the enemy. Then we'll go ahead and reset everything. The Servant of the Lurker will make friends with Daisy. Oh, and Stella actually does take 1 and 1 as well. I did almost forget about that. But anyway, we'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Daisy will gain 1 resource and go to 3. Stella will actually gain a resource again and go up to 2. Daisy will draw. The Necronomicon. Wonderful. Revelation, put the Necronomicon into play in your threat area with 3 horror on it. It can't leave play while it has 1 or more horror on it. And now the Elder sign for her is a tentacle. As an action, we can move 1 horror from the Necronomicon to Daisy. Then if it's got no horror on it, discard it. So we're going to discard the Dream... Yeah, we're going to discard the Dream Diary. And then we'll get the 3 horror for the Necronomicon. But like I said, I don't think Daisy is going to be in this scenario much longer. Stella draws. Wow, everybody's drawing weaknesses. Called by the Mists. Revelation, put Called by the Mists into play in your threat area. Forced, after you initiate a skill test with a difficulty 4 or higher, take 1 damage. 2 actions to discard Called by the Mist. Fantastic. But anyway... end of the round, also Dissonant Voices does go away. So Doom goes up to 2. Daisy draws. Frozen in Fear, just what I wanted to see when I'm trying to get away from the Servant of the Lurker. Put it into play in your threat area. First time you perform one of the following actions, move, fight, or evade each round. It costs 1 additional action. Forced, at the end of your turn, test Will 3. If you succeed, discard Frozen in Fear. Fantastic. Stella draws. Wow, we draw weaknesses and duplicates, and now apparently we're drawing treacheries and duplicates too. Stella is also frozen in fear, which probably means Daisy is doomed, but anyway, we'll see what we can do about that. Our one way to save Daisy is to have... actually, even that isn't really going to help. Because fighting is one of the actions that costs 2 actions. But anyway, we'll move over to Stella and we'll start off in her play area. Stella's first combat test is up 1 against the conglomeration, but it also costs 2 actions. Elder Sign, which as we saw earlier, I can choose to... It's a +1, but I can choose to instead automatically fail to heal 1 and 1. Healing 1 and 1 right now isn't worth it. So I'm just going to have Stella defeat the conglomeration of spheres. Now I have to make a decision. Do I try to save Daisy, or do I just move the scenario along without her? Actually, it's entirely possible, but not likely, that she gets away from the servant at the Lurker. So I think we just have Stella... I think Action 3 takes us over to the map. I don't think I throw Stella in the scenario away trying to save Daisy. So for Action 3, Stella will move into the Darkened Hall. And then she's got to test her Frozen in Fear to try to get rid of that. This is a will test. She is even right now. And it's not a difficulty 3 or higher, so... I think for this I'm going to commit... I think just to make sure I can try to get clear of this so I can keep the scenario moving, I'm going to commit neither rain nor snow, which is going to put me up 3, and then take heart. So if I get tentacle touched, I can at least draw 2 cards and gain 2 resources. But anyway, Stella is up 3. -1 gets her rid of Frozen in Fear. And I think that was much the reaction I would rather have had. But anyway, that will do it for Stella. Daisy, as long as we're right here, we're going to stay here at the map. For actions 1 and 2, she's going to commit Research Librarian to try to evade the servant of the Lurker. So we're even right now. And a +1 actually gets her away from it. Then Action 3, she'll move down to the Clover Club card room. And then Daisy also... Actually, +1... Research Librarian got her to even. A +1 actually gets her rid of Cursed Luck, too. So that's very fortunate for Daisy. And then we will test her Frozen in Fear. She's even right now. Oh, before we do that, we will actually use her free tome action to take a horror off the Necronomicon. I was assuming she was going to fail miserably on the evasion, but anyway, I stand corrected on that. Now we test her Frozen in Fear. She's at even, and that's all the higher she can get. Another +1 gets her rid of Frozen in Fear, so we seem to have turned that around so far, but I shouldn't speak too soon. Anyway, Enemy Phase, the Servant of the Lurker was evaded, surprising result from Daisy. But anyway, the Servant will ready up. We'll go ahead and reset everything. I never flipped over Stella's last action marker, but I'm not worried about that right now. And then we'll move back up top for the Upkeep Phase. Daisy will gain 1 resource and go to 4. Stella will also gain 1 resource and go to 3. Daisy will draw. Occult Lexicon. 2 cost to play, lore on commit. Limit 1 per deck. After it enters play, search your bonded cards for 3 copies of Bloodright, and we'll go through that when we do search it. Add 1 to your hand and shuffle the other 2 into your deck. When Occult Lexicon leaves play, find each of those copies of Bloodright, even if they're out of play, and remove them from the game. Stella will draw. Dumb Luck. 2 cost to play, 2 agility on commit. Fast, play after you fail a skill test by 2 or more during an evasion attempt against a non-elite enemy. Place that enemy on top of the encounter deck. Ooh, I just had a thought, actually. I wonder how something like that would work with Gloria. I don't think Gloria can take survivor cards herself, but maybe pair her up with a survivor using that. I'm getting a little off track here. Mythos phase, Doom goes up to 3. Daisy draws. I was about to say Stella. Daisy's our lead investigator for this scenario. Daisy draws. Rotting Remains. Test Will 3. For each point you fail by, take a horror. Does Daisy have any... She does not have any will, so we're even. That's a -1, so Daisy takes 1 horror. I can deal with that, though. Stella draws. Another Rotting Remains. Test Will 3. For each point you fail by, take 1 horror. Actually, Stella's actually pretty high on sanity, so I think she can take this as well. Plus, a fail gives her a lot of stuff, so... -2. It does give her 2 horror, but that can't be helped. More importantly, however, it gives her an extra action. And it'll let me exhaust Rabbit's Wit to draw a card, so Stella will draw. A baseball bat, which actually we need a new weapon anyway. 2 cost to play, combat on commit. As an action, fight. You get +2 combat for this attack, deals +1 damage, but if you reveal a skull or a tentacle during the attack, discard baseball bat after the attack resolves. So yeah, that actually might have been a very helpful draw. But anyway, that's it for the Mythos phase. Now we're back into the investigation phase, and Daisy's first 2 actions will take us over to the map. Action 1, Daisy will move to the darkened hall. Action 2, she'll move down to this back hall doorway, and we'll see what's on the revealed side here. We find back alley. Shroud of 1, 2 clues. As an action, resign. We can go out this way. A steep, narrow staircase leads to a second unmarked door. To your surprise, it leads to a back alley behind La Bella Luna. This must be where they smuggle in their goods. Victory 1. So we'll get the 2 clues for that. Then I'm actually going to use her tome asset, see if I can pull tome action to see if I can pull her back from the brink. So I'm going to use medical texts on herself. Where I'm going to test lore 2. If I succeed, I heal 1 damage from that investigator. If I fail, deal 1 damage to that investigator. This is a risk of taking Daisy out, but if I survive, I can then grab those 2 clues. The reason I'm not doing it in the other order is if I start grabbing clues and then I fail this test anyway, I would end up losing the clues. Would end up getting dropped right back on the location anyway. So there's really no point to doing it in the clue then heal order. So we're going to heal, then try to start getting clues. Up 3. Elder Sign. Let's go ahead and take a look at Daisy's Elder Sign. Daisy's Elder Sign is +0. If you succeed, draw 1 card for each tome you control. So I do succeed, but I need to go look up a ruling on something. I'll be right back. No, it's in your threat area. So you don't. I don't think you actually control the Necronomicon, but I need to look that up. I will be right back. Okay, hold everything on the Elder Sign front. So I forgot that because the Necronomicon is in play, Daisy treats the Elder Sign as a tentacle. So actually, she's just defeated by damage here, which means she's out of the scenario with our first physical trauma of the campaign. It would help if I remember to read the card. But anyway. So it looks like I was right to start preparing for life in this scenario without Daisy. It just came a little sooner. It just came a little later than I thought it would. But anyway. Never mind that. So I was wondering if I was going to be drawing 2 cards with Daisy, but she actually treats it as a tentacle, and she's just defeated. So anyway, Stella is actually not in too rough a shape now, but let me think what I want to do here. Unfortunately, I kind of do need to take a little... Oh, that's actually a hand slot. I think for the time being, we're going to play the old keyring out for action 1 for Stella. As an action, we can investigate. The location gets -2 shroud for the investigation. If you succeed, remove 1 key from old keyring. So we'll get the 2 keys of that. Action 2, I'll move her up to this back hall doorway now that I know what's here. And this will reveal into... Did not realize my camera's battery was dead. Moderately embarrassing, but what are you going to do? Anyway, starting the turn over. Action 1, I played the old keyring. Action 2, we're going to move up to this back hall doorway. And we'll reveal into... the art gallery. Shroud of 2 clues. Forced. After you fail a skill test while investigating the art gallery, lose 2 resources. Exotic art and antiques adorn the walls of Peter Clover's private gallery. An evening breeze rustles the worn pages of a ledger back and forth. Victory 1. Then action 3. Let me make sure I've got the card I need for this. Yes. So action 3, I will investigate at even. -2, which actually means I lose 2 resources and I can't play the card I was going to. That is unfortunate, but that was me being derpy. But anyway, that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the Servant of the Lurker moves down 1. Then I'll reset everything, and we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Oh, actually, wait a second. Actually, before that happens, I do get an extra action. So, I actually do have an extra action. So, Stella will actually take a... what do I want to do with Stella? I'm actually going to investigate, and I'll commit Take Heart. So we're still at even. Cultist, which is we saw earlier, -3 if you succeed, gain 3 resources. So I didn't succeed, I failed the test. The forced on there would resolve first, which means I don't have 2 resources to lose. So I do gain the 2 resources from Take Heart, and I draw 2 cards. First up, neither rain nor snow, which we saw earlier, and Mysterious Raven, which is a 1 cost to play, lore on commit. I can, as a free action, I can discard Mysterious Raven and take a horror to discover a clue at my location. I'll go through the flavor text when I play it. 1 horror on soak. And then I will pay those 2 resources that I just got. If I can find it in here. I'll also... well, I'll do that in a second, but... I'll play Look What I Found to get those 2 clues anyway. And then I'll exhaust the Lucky Rabbit's Foot to draw a card. So Stella will draw. Live and Learn. 0 cost to play, wild card on commit. Fast, play after a skill test you failed ends after resolving everything from the failed test. Attempt it again and you get +2 skill value for this test. So now that will do it for Stella in the action phase. Now into the enemy phase, the Servant of the Lurker moves. And then we'll ready everything up. And then we'll move back up top for the Upkeep phase. Stella will gain a resource, and then she'll draw another old keyring, which we're probably going to end up making use of here pretty soon. But anyway, Mythos phase, Doom goes up to 4 on the agenda. Stella draws. Twist of Fate. We saw this earlier. Reveal a random token from the bag. Elder sign or positive, nothing happens. Anything else, take a damage. Symbol, take 2 horror. Well, bad symbol. A 0 means Stella takes a damage. Now, looking at the board, there's definitely an argument to be made for trying to get Stella out of here rather than sustain a trauma. 1, 2, 3, 4, 9. Actually, I have to discard. I'll discard the old keyring. But anyway, looking at the board, there's an argument to be made trying to just getting Stella out of here. Maybe with victory points from the back alley. But anyway, we'll take Stella over to the map while I think about this. Action 1 is to move Stella down to the Darkened Hall. Action 2, we have 3 rounds. My hunch is I'm going to need those clues anyway. Because I need 4 clues to be able to advance the act. So I think I'm going to go after the clues first. In Action 2, I'll move down to the back alley. Action 3, I'll investigate up 1. I'm not going to use the shroud on the... I'm not going to use the old keyring because that brings it down to a 0. +1 gets me one of the clues. So that's helpful there. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the servant moves. We'll reset everything for Stella. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Stella will gain 1 resource, go to 2, and then draw. Granny Orn, tough old bird. 4 cost to play, will on commit, and you get +1 will. When an investigator at your location would fail a skill test, exhaust Granny Orn. That investigator fails by either 1 less or 1 more. Alright, Mythos phase, Doom goes up to 5, and then Stella draws. Swarm of Rats, oh joy. So I think the play here is actually, now that I'm seeing the ticking clock, I think the play here is get that last clue and get out of here. So with that, we can just stay right here at the play area. Do I even care about taking the attack of opportunity? Let me look here first. 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9. Once again, I got to discard. It'll be Granny Orn. I don't think I really care about taking the attack of opportunity here, so I'm actually going to attempt to evade the rats, believe it or not. I'm up 1, and I don't think there's anything I'm going to commit to it. So up 1. Actually, I'll flip that over because I don't have that action yet. -1 gets me away from the rats. Action 2, I'll investigate using the old key ring, so that will knock it down to a 0. So I'm up 2. Zero gets the last clue. And then Stella is going to resign. So we're going to end the scenario, which means we'll move back up top to resolve the scenario and wrap this video up. Alright, I was double checking all of that, so we go to Resolution 1.
Resolution 1. You flee to the end of the block and pause to recover. Before you can catch your breath, the ground shakes with a thunderous crash. People emerge from their homes and storefronts to see what the ruckus is, and a crowd forms on the street. You head to the front of the crowd and are horrified to see the building from which you fled just minutes earlier reduced to rubble. There is no sign of Dr. Morgan anywhere. In your campaign log, record that the O'Banion gang has a bone to pick with the investigators.
We'll pause to make a note of that. I don't think in my playthroughs of this campaign I've ever gotten a good ending with the O'Banion gang. Just as a minor aside.
In your campaign log, record that Dr. Francis Morgan was kidnapped.
Okay. Dr. Francis Morgan was kidnapped.
Any player cheated, add 1 Elder Thing token to the cast bag for the remainder of the campaign.
Which thankfully nobody cheated, although I could have cheated to save Daisy at the end there when I had that Elder sign come up. But carry on.
Experience equal to the Victory X value of each card in the Victory display. Each investigator earns 1 experience as he or she reflects on the night's events. If this is the first scenario of the campaign, proceed to Scenario 1A, Extracurricular Activity. Otherwise, proceed to Interlude 1, Armitage's Fate.
Alright, so that's probably going to be Armitage, but I made these recordings at a very different time. But anyway, so we got 3 experience out of that scenario, which we can do something with in the upgrades video. But anyway, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So next up we head to Armitage's Fate.
Interlude 1, Armitage's Fate. Check campaign log. If the investigators were unconscious for several hours, read Armitage's Fate 1. Otherwise, skip to Armitage's Fate 2.
The investigators were not unconscious for several hours, so we go to Armitage's Fate 2.
Armitage's Fate 2. When you arrive at Dr. Armitage's home in Southside, you find him sitting at his desk, pale-faced and sweating with worry. He is grateful to you for searching for his colleagues, but he doesn't look relieved. With a long pause, he straightens his glass and explains, "I'm afraid I must apologize. There's something I didn't mention to you earlier." Dr. Armitage then spins a tale you would scarcely believe had it not been for your harrowing experiences earlier that night. In your campaign log, record that the investigators rescued Dr. Henry Armitage.
Okay, so... Actually, let's let that pull in.
One investigator may choose to add Dr. Henry Armitage to his or her deck. This card does not count toward the investigator's deck size. It can be found in the Armitage's Fate encounter set. The story continues in Scenario 2, the Miskatonic Museum.
Okay, rescued Henry Armitage. And we'll take a quick look at Dr. Armitage before we decide who we're giving him to. Dr. Henry Armitage, the head librarian. 2 cost to play, 2 question marks on commit. As an action, after you draw a card, discard that card and exhaust Dr. Henry Armitage. Gain 3 resources. Armitage knew he would be meddling with terrible powers, yet saw there was no other way to annul the deeper and more malign meddling which others had done before him. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dunwich Horror. 2 damage, 2 health, 2 sanity on soak. Thematically speaking, I should give him to Daisy, being the head librarian and all. But in terms of the campaign, I think I actually do go with the thematic win here and give him to Daisy. I mean, there's an argument that could be made either way, but the way Daisy draws through her deck, she'll probably have plenty of ways to get resources. But anyway, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Unfortunately, though, we did sustain a physical trauma for Daisy, which with her 5 health is very problematic. So we probably need to have her stick to Stella like glue in the next scenario. But anyway, that will do it for this playthrough of The House Always Wins. Later this week, we'll upgrade the decks again, and then as long as my voice continues to improve, we'll have the third scenario in the campaign as we head to the Miskatonic Museum. As always, the backup plan will be to step back into the background campaign of Hero Realms if my body does something crazy like watching my voice deteriorate. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.